Hey everyone, my name is Buster Green. I like to review anime and video games, and sometimes I like to tell stories. And this is going to be a very long story. Now, if this story helps you out, please subscribe to my channel. I need 500 more subscribers to legitimize my YouTube channel and make money off of my videos. I've lost my job due to COVID-19, and if I can just stay at home and make YouTube videos, I'll be happy. Now, I typically YouTube about Gundam, but Gundam news has been really slow lately, so I've also been minorly venting on my frivolous and painful search for a PS5. It's been taking over so much of my life that I was thinking about doing a second weekly show where I just look for a PS5 every week. But I guess I can't do that now because on the morning of Friday, December 11th, 2020, I finally got a fucking PS5. And it was not easy. But it was a massive personal triumph. And I'm sure that I only accomplished this through extreme hard work and a little bit of cleverness, which is the way I like to do things. I did not compromise any of my core values or give in to scalpers. So, no PS5 search show, because I have a PS5 now. But since this is going to be the be-all and end-all for PS5 videos for me, I need to go over everything that happened, because every step of this journey influenced my next move. So, I don't even remember when pre-orders first came out for the PS5. I just know that the day they happened, I didn't have the money, and that day came and went so fast that I had no chance to pre-order the PS5. And everyone's always bitching like, why didn't you pre-order it? Because I couldn't. And then when the launch came out, things went from bad to worse. I finally had all my money saved up, but because of the 2020 pandemic, the PS5 was cursed. It was an online-only affair, which would normally be fine and good. In fact, I initially was quite happy about this, because I've seen a lot of death this year from the pandemic, and I knew that a typical Happy Day midnight console launch would actually be a potentially deadly super spreader event. And everything should have been fine and dandy, but two things went completely dramatically wrong. First, the PS5 seems to be a rough console to mass produce. Every time any store gets restocked of it, they only get about 30 consoles tops. And then the real problem was bots. Dick bots. Or dicks with bots. Now, the retailers have thus far failed to do absolutely anything about them. And I've actually been around long enough that I've seen internal corporate emails from Target saying that they do not give a shit about the scalpers. As long as they sell these consoles and make their money, they don't care who gets them. So these people are a problem. Now, Walmart also at first seemed content with this, but recently they've changed their tactics due to intense public pressure. Now, since launch day, thousands of people, maybe millions, have had PS5s in their online shopping carts, and then bots would swoop in and take them all away. I'm literally sure that every first stock of PS5s from Walmart, Best Buy, Target, and Amazon went straight to bots. And as of the time of this video, Amazon and Target stock is still being sniped by bots at every possible drop. They are literally just feeding this problem and making it worse. Now, Best Buy, I will give some credit to. They have added one layer of bot protection in the form of email validation on every PS5 purchase. And that seems like it would have saved the day. Except since they put the system into place, they haven't had a single PS5 restock. So, great job on the system that helped no one. Now, the goal of these evil scalpers is to artificially inflate the value of the PS5, which, to start with, is the most expensive console in history. And normally, this wouldn't be the end-all be-all because the consoles are usually just in stores. But they're not because of COVID. And so this bad perfect storm happened where the scalper bots managed to take control of the entire free North American stock of PS5s. And by Black Friday, by doing this, they have managed to inflate the online price of the PS5 to over $1,200. But thankfully, with some recent developments, as more and more people manage to cop the PS5, the scalper price is slowly losing value, and as of this video, it's currently down to $800 and still dropping. But I literally can't put into words how frustrating this is. Like, imagine you're in the store, trying to buy something. You go to check out, and then the man in front of you turns around, grabs your stuff out of your shopping cart, and buys it for himself. And you scream, "Hey! What the fuck? That was mine!" And then he slowly turns around and is like, "Oh, did you need that? I'll sell it back to you for $2,000. And if this was real life, I would kick that son of a bitch in the dick. Now, making matters worse, on top of those scalpers, there are scammers. Scammers pulling a number of hyper-evil scams online. Now, the most common scam that a scammer will pull, the scammer doesn't even have a PS5. But he pretends he does, and he asks you to give him a down payment for him to send you one. Now, what's the logic in that? Like, if you're just buying a PS5, why would you need a down payment? Like, what would that even do for anyone? So anyway, this down payment usually starts at $300 and can sometimes go above $1,000. Sometimes even more than $1,000. And then after you pay the scammer this down payment, he blocks you. And then he changes his name and identity. And he runs the scam again on some other unsuspecting person. Now, I've seen the scam going around so much that I have to wonder how many people are running this scam. Because on the one hand, it could be like one super serious master thief doing this all day, all night. Or for all I know, it's the entire population of some third world country or something. I've seen many people falling into this scam due to pure naivete. And also, a shit ton of scammers keep popping up on Twitter, and they all have the same messages, and all of these accounts look normal at first glance, but if you take a closer look at them, they have no back history. Their accounts are all created in the past 2 months, and I don't know what it is, but all these scammers use these super cute PS5 emojis, and I have never seen any normal people bother with those. I mean, like, when the fuck did a PS5 emoji come out? Then another scam that I myself almost fell into was a common credit card phishing scam, but it's been dressed up and disguised as a mysterious phantom mom and pop game shop website that you've never heard of with a random mysterious inventory of PS5s for sale. Now, I only saw this scam run once, but it had the address of some random mall in Ohio, and supposedly someone looked up that address and there was no store there. Now, thankfully, when this scam site came online, a feeding frenzy ensued and the site crashed from all the traffic. And I'm hoping it crashed before it took my credit card. Although after that, the site reappeared later, and it claimed to be sold out of PS5s, and it claimed to now be selling, like, you know, your average, not particularly rare games, which did make me think twice about maybe it was actually a legitimate site. But to this day, I don't know, and I'm going to have to be checking my bank account for the next couple of weeks to make sure there is no unsuspecting charges put on my account. So, with all the scammers behind me, my best hope after that seemed to be PS Direct. PS Direct drops randomly about 3 times a week. Randomly on unannounced days at unannounced times, randomly every weekday between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Now, PS Direct seemed like my best odds of ordering the console, since by all estimation, their stock is about 100 to 800 consoles per daily drop. But to make them work, you need PS Plus. PS Plus members get priority on PS Direct, and they also get free shipping, which is actually a pretty good perk. Now, I normally consider PS Plus a scam to get me to pay Sony a bill for using my internet, which I already paid the internet company another bill to pay for. But I finally caved because PS5 Fever and the fact that PS Direct did ultimately seem like my best absolute option to get a PS5 online with their frequent restocks. But the downside of PS Direct is you're still in a complete battle royale with the entire United States of America. And that battle royale is usually decided in the first 3 minutes. Now, despite that, every day I was getting better and better at tracking and beating down the PS Direct drops. Every time another one came in, I was about 10 minutes closer to the end of the line. The first day I was about 50 minutes away, then 40, then 30, then 20. But I never got my time under 20 minutes before the consoles ran out. Though I do attribute my improved times to the demand decreasing day by day. So after that, I got in this really steady routine of every day at 1, in the side of my eye, I'd be trying to snipe PS Direct every day. And then after 7, I'd give up. And then I wouldn't go to sleep every day because every fucking day, fucking 12-year-olds would pop up online and come up with these completely untrue bullshit rumors about middle of the night drops. And I knew these rumors were fucking crap being spread by elementary school students. No legitimate store does night drops. Trucks drive in the day. Stock people work in the day. The only company that does middle of the night drops is Best Buy. And even then, they don't drop at midnight. The one time they dropped at night, it was 4 a.m. And I stayed up to 1 a.m. trying to snipe that, but I passed out. And then when I woke up at 6, it was already gone. Now Target occasionally restocks at 6, but again, their drops are super painfully pathetic. They on average get 6 or less PS5s in stock. So whenever they restock, their drops are gone in seconds because bots. Now, this was the status quo. Then on Black Friday, GameStop was the first store to take the initiative and switch over to in-store drops. But unfortunately, the average GameStop only had 2 consoles on that first Black Friday drop. And sometimes less than that if an employee was being bad and took one. Now, after my delicious Thanksgiving dinner was over, I drove by my local GameStop to see what the scene was, because I needed to see the scene with my own eyes. And the scene was fucking awful. There were about 40 people and a German Shepherd shivering in the cold for what ended up being 2 PS5s. So I have to wonder about how those 38 people suffered. I have to wonder about what they felt the next morning. I have to wonder if they got sick. And I can't imagine how much pain they suffered for nothing. This painful status quo stretched on another week. Then, December 5th, 2020, a major game changer happened. Walmart decided that after being a villain, after being a heel, and after selling their entire first edition online stock of over 3,000 PS5s to only bots, they would now try to make good and sell PS5s exclusively in stores, despite COVID. And this caused complete chaos, because it was a full-on turnabout situation, executed across the country with no warning, and absolute chaos ensued. Now, some Walmarts followed the orders, but other Walmarts interpreted it badly. They interpreted it bizarrely. They didn't understand it, they lied about it, and they just caused more and more chaos. Now, the day I saw this happen, I knew that this might present me my absolute best opportunity. I could grab one in this initial chaos before the general populace caught on. The Walmarts in my surrounding area, they sold out immediately. But I used BrickSeek, and I found out that there were Walmarts 50 miles away from me, out in the woods with plenty of stock. So I hopped in my car and I drove as fast as I could to the closest one I could reach. Now, the closest one I could reach was in some really weird place that I had never heard of. It was called like the Blipple of Dipple or the Bleeple of Deeple. Anyway, it was some bullshit town in bumfuck nowhere with a stupid nonsensical name. So I found myself in a Walmart for the first time in a pandemic. And I have to say, that was not an easy move for me to make. because the Walmart closest to my house has been known as a COVID death trap. I've been so uneasy about going anywhere near there since the outbreak started. But anyway, I went to this Walmart. I went straight up to the electronics section, and it was 8 p.m. when I got there. There was a line. I was the 16th person in this line. Now, assuming they had a full pallet of 30 PS5s, we should have been alright, right? Well, as I waited there, as I stood there, I looked around and I noticed some things. The first thing I noticed was there was no staff monitoring or maintaining the line. And as I waited in this line, it got longer and longer. More people showed up behind me. And because no one was guarding the line, people started butting in front of me. And that eventually knocked me down to 20th place. Now, eventually, a very, very old lady Walmart employee came out and announced that even though the consoles were in the store, this store had decided that they would not sell them until first thing in the morning. And the only way we could get them was if we stayed the entire night there outside in the snow. And on top of that, they only had 6. Now, me and a very sensible man standing behind me who looked like Buddy Holly decided that we did not have the necessary gear to survive a sub-zero camping trip. So I walked out of that Walmart defeated. But I looked at the last 3 guys in this line. The last 3 guys out of 30. And they were a bunch of fat, beer bro college frat guys. And you know what they had? They had tents. They were setting up tents in front of the fucking Walmart. And they were more hardcore and more prepared than I was. So when I saw those assholes, I started to put my plan together. Because I knew I wasn't an ultra hardcore person like them. But at the same time, I knew Walmart was going to keep doing these kind of drops. They were going to keep doing them frequently. And from here on out, I knew if I bided my time, in about a week, all those ultra hardcore people would fight each other to the death over those first PS5s. And after they had them, they would not be my competition anymore. So I went back home and had another bad week of bad knockouts on PS Directs, sleepless nights trying to snipe Target, overpriced and unethical bundles where for an extra $200 you could get yourself a $70 copy of Spider-Man and a $10 gift card. And full-on strange and mysterious stores I've never heard of, like Ant Online. Do I want to buy from Ants? And Miser? Sounds like Nazis to me. Anyway, BrickSeek as first was invaluable in the early days for tracking these Walmart drops. But then out of nowhere, Walmart had them shut down, seemingly to quell the chaos, although seemingly sowing even more chaos. Now, there were a few sketchy alternatives, but I just wanted to watch the pattern. So I went to Twitter, and I watched what happened as more and more people got PS5s from Walmart. Every day, I analyzed the Twitter Walmart drop info, and from what I could tell, every single Walmart was getting at least 1 or 2 PS5 shipments, every day at 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. or both. If the shipment came at 4 a.m., then the stock was sold when the Walmart opened at 7 a.m. But if the shipment came at 4 p.m., then it was pretty much sold straight off the truck to a frenzied mob. Now, every single Walmart was different, and again, there was a complete lack of information, and this was causing riots. Some Walmarts were giving out raffle tickets. Some Walmarts were calling the cops. Some Walmarts had 100 people strong flash mobs that would camp out for days. There were so many unnatural things happening, and meanwhile, I was just biding my time for the super hardcore people to get their PS5s and go away. So, about a week passed, and after this point, I had to think about what I'd done and what had worked and what hadn't worked and the data I had. And so I put together basically a heist plan to make everything work out for me. So, on Thursday, I was defeated for PS Direct on the 3rd day in a row. And this was another humiliating defeat, and my blood was just boiling. So I jumped in my car and I set off for an epic final resort road trip. Now, I'm not going to tell you where I went because that's a little bit unfair and a little bit too easy. I want to preserve some semblance of my own privacy, and I just want you to know the important details about this story so that you can figure out a way to do exactly what I did in your own area. So I'm just going to tell you the facts about where I went and not actually where I went. Now, where I went is something of a retail dead zone. I'd gone there many years before to get my Switch from a Toys R Us, and where I went is the middle of nowhere. It's over 200 miles away from where I live, and it's over 100 miles away from any familiar major American city that you might have heard of. Now, this place where I went to has a population of under 10,000 people, and everyone living in the city has the occupation of either a farmer, a hunter, or a retail worker. And best and most beautiful of all, this city has not one, not two, but 3 Walmarts. Although technically the third one is outside the city in the woods. So let's do some math. It's been 6 days since Walmart began doing in-store drops. All 3 of these Walmarts have to be receiving a maximum of 30 PS5s per drop, and definitely getting a maximum of 2 drops per day. That means mathematically, this bullshit town in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, with its 3 Walmarts, should, as of this day 1 week later, have a high maximum number of 1,080 PS5s already sold and distributed amongst the people of this town. Meaning if every single person in this town was attempting to buy a PS5, 10% of the town would have them already, and in the next 3 months, everyone else in the town would have one. And then they'd have extras. So, I went to this town. It took me 2 hours to drive there. Maybe 3. So, first things first, I went to the gigantic, nice, new Super Walmart on the north side of town. Now, this place was pretty much empty when I strolled in, so I went straight to the back, and I started off a friendly chat with the electronics guy. And as soon as I said PS5, he got disappointed and angry with me. But he told me an honest story. So what he told me was at this Walmart, the manager had basically decided to do a pre-order list to keep the PS5s sold locally to only the members of the town. The first 200 people who signed up to this pre-order list were the elite of the elites who had first dibs on any PS5s to come into the store. Anyone not on this list would absolutely not be permitted to buy a PS5 until March, when supposedly the numbers would be shored up and the PS5s would be sold normally. Now, even if a PS5 was just sitting ripe on the shelf for the taking, if you weren't on this list, the store would outright refuse to sell it to you. Now, I found this story very, very annoying and frustrating. It sounded like kind of some fucked up discrimination, or like a messed up version of a hottie list, but it was too strange and the man's story was too detailed, so I figured it definitely had to be true. But on the bright side, he ended the story that I should check out the other 2 Walmarts in town, because they have different managers and therefore different policies. So with that adventure done, I drove down the road to Walmart number 2. Walmart number 2 is on the south side of town, the bad side of town, where all the factories have been shut down. Walmart number 2 is much older than the other Walmart, decades older. It's so old that it's probably one of the oldest Walmarts I've ever seen. It's also considered the bad Walmart because it's small, it's old, it's on the bad side of town, and to cap it all off, it's directly competing with the good Walmart on the other side of the same town. No one really likes to go there, and it's honestly a miracle they're even still in business nowadays, because I'm pretty sure the good Walmart was built as a replacement for the bad Walmart. So I strolled into Walmart number 2. It was about 10 p.m. on a Thursday, and it was about an hour before they closed. I repeated my tactics from the first Walmart, walked straight to the electronics section, and started chatting up the guy there. Now, this time around, the guy and me had the spark of a connection. He was a bit of an overweight guy, he had this huge nose, and it kept slipping out of his COVID mask. And that caused me the slightest bit of discomfort. Now, despite all that, he seemed to have a good heart. Anyway, so we got to talking, and I kind of charmed him. I really got on his good side. And I talked about how I'd been having a really rough time trying to get a PS5. Christmas was only a few days away. And he told me something so enticing and so honest. He told me that this Walmart gets a shipment every day. They sell them first come, first serve to whoever is at the store when they open. And then after that, sometimes they have extras to sell. They have extras to sell? So, his advice to me was that I should just get up in the morning, give them a call at 7, and see if they have any extras. See what happens, see if they have any left. Well, maybe I'll get one. Oh, that was it. Game, set, and match. He'd already told me everything I needed to know. So, I went to where I was sleeping for the night, stayed up a few more hours because I was wired on caffeine, and eventually I crashed. Then my alarm got me up at 5, and I chugged another Dr. Pepper and headed back to the bad Walmart. Now, along my way back, part of me for a second contemplated driving by the good Walmart again, just because I was a slight bit curious who was there, what it looked like. But thankfully, I resisted that bad urge. Had I gone in on that urge, that would have completely screwed me over. So I arrived back at the bad Walmart at 6 a.m. in pitch black, sub-zero, freezing weather. There were 3 cars hanging out in the snow with the heat on. I saw this guy camped out very cozy, and so I pulled up in front of him and finished the rest of my Dr. Pepper. Now, there was a very, very nice calm over the parking lot because no one wanted to get out of their car and step into the snow. And then at 6:30, all of that peace was shattered. This other car pulled up and dropped off this very, very unusual woman. They dropped her off in the front of the Walmart, and honestly, she looked like Xerxes from 300. She was bald, she had too many facial piercings, she was dressed like a dominatrix, and on top of that, it was snowing and she wasn't wearing any pants. Now, she declared herself the first in line for the PS5 line, and this made everyone else freak out and scramble together. So there we were, the 5 of us, at this bad Walmart. Lady Xerxes, a chubby, cute suburban mom, a skinny teenager, and a really, really, really big guy. And lastly, me. 5 cold people out there for the bare minimum of 6 PS5s. And we felt very confident that we would get them. Now, we freezed in the cold and the snow for about 20 minutes until the Walmart manager came out. And the Walmart manager announced that they now had 4 PS5s, because 2 of them had been purchased by employees. Well, at least they were honest about it. Now, the manager, being very diplomatic, decided not to sell one to Lady Xerxes, because the manager had been there since 5, and she knew for a fact that Lady Xerxes had just shown up and started screaming shit, whereas everyone else had been camping in their cars in the cold for over an hour. So, wow. I literally got the last PS5 at the bad Walmart the first time I tried to go there. And as a tantalizing cherry on top, since this bad Walmart was in such a bad area, there was virtually no sales tax on it. And I got it for nearly $40 cheaper than I would have got it if I had actually bought it online. Oh, and then there was one final twist. So the big, scary guy in front of me who got PS5 number 3, he turned out to be a scalper. And as soon as I left the store with my PS5, he went back to his van where he had about 6 goons who were just lurking with the intention to buy up any remaining PS5s this Walmart had in stock. Except there weren't any. Well. So after he got his, he and his goons hopped back in their van, and they very loudly announced that they were off to another Walmart in some other bullshit town I never heard of to ransack all the PS5s they had next. And my heart was just racing. I was absolutely flabbergasted that my simple plan had worked out so perfectly. I wandered around the parking lot in a circle just trying to get out, and then I went back to where I was staying and I rested. And that's how I got the PS5. Jesus fucking Christ. Now, ultimately, in the end, the chase was bigger than the prize. That's what I have to conclude. Now, my first day as an owner of a PS5 has been completely underwhelming. I set it up and it took me close to 3 hours to install the firmware, update the controller, install my cloud saves, and then get a single game on the PS5. Now, months ago, I had simply wanted to buy the PS5 to play Miles Morales and eventually Cyberpunk. But I actually canceled my Cyberpunk pre-order this week because the first reviews I saw of it made it seem really glitchy, and I think I need to hold off because if I'm being honest, I'm too busy to play Cyberpunk. Because my PS5 also came with a free copy of Persona 5, and I was thinking about buying Persona 5 Royale, but now I don't have to. And the main reason I even wanted a PS5 is just because it's a better PS4. Now, on that note, the first thing I played on my PS5 was actually the first game I played on my PS4 and on my PS Vita. 1990's Godzilla Simulator. And then I had to wait another 6 hours to install Astro-bot Adventure. So I basically got out of my PS5-induced funk, and I was able to momentarily comprehend the absolute existential horror that is the year 2020, and the fact that any stranger I could meet could be carrying a random deadly disease that will end my life in a modest 14 days. Jesus, what a way to go. Anyway, so after I took some rest, Astro-bot finally loaded, and I was very wowed by the DualSense controller. It is really the main next-gen element of the PS5. It is so abnormal and alien feeling. It's really beyond your comprehension, and it's like nothing you ever experienced. It feels like the controller is full of Mexican jumping beans, except the Mexican jumping beans are actually deadly 2020 nanomachine micro-robots. But anyway, I played Astro-bot for about 10 minutes, then I got stuck, and so, because I was so completely exhausted, I used my $510 PS5 to watch bad reruns of British sitcoms on Amazon Prime in 480p, and they looked like absolute shit. My name is Mutant Buster Green. Hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope you too get a PS5 from some bullshit town with 2 May Walmarts and an unpronounceable name. Good night, America. I have a PS5.